let's pop it into first and get our acceleration. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be going over a 2021 Lexus RX 450h. This is the hybrid RX, but first and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Lexus here in Murray for giving me some time with the RX. Check out the inventory in the link below. Let's get straight into the video. Under the hood of the RX 450h, we have a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6 that's paired to a CVT automatic transmission and a hybrid system. Total system output is 308 horsepower. Fuel economy is 31 around town and then 28 on the highway. Now here's the front end of the RX 450h. So first off, you cannot tell that this is a hybrid by looking at the hood or the headlights. They're completely the same as any of the other RXs. You still get the beautiful LEDs with the LED accent light that matches the Lexus logo. Parking sensors here along the front, and then coming to the grille, this is where you actually might be able to make a distinction. So if you look close, you can see there's some blue outlining on the Lexus logo. That lets you know that this is a hybrid compared to a regular Lexus. I love the metallic gray grille. I think it looks really good, especially in contrast to the white paint on this particular car. But other than that, that's the front end of the RX 450h. Now coming on the side here, you've got two 35mm tires wrapped around 20-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well, and it's kind of got like a brushed aluminum look for the wheels themselves, which they look pretty good. They're actually the same exact wheels that are on the RX 350L that I reviewed, so yeah, nothing's changed with that. Still look good. I really like the plastic molding around it as well. Obviously that's some protection for the vehicle, a lot easier to replace than the painted fender flares, but you can see that continues all along the entire SUV. And other than that, here is a full side view on the 450h. If you listen really, really closely, you can hear that it's on because it's a hybrid, but yeah. Now let's pop into the back of the RX 450h. So first off, you can see all the goodies you get here from Lexus stacked up here in the back, the floor mats, boxes, all that kind of stuff. And you get a Lexus first aid kit, which is pretty neat. And then you can see just above that first aid kit, you've got the buttons for the second row. These are just automated buttons, so you just press them and you can see that they'll lower the seat. And then you can press it again to raise the seat. It'll beep at you a bunch before it actually raises the seat. It's like, why didn't you let me go down all the way? And so it kind of like swears at you. But anyways, spare tires just underneath that little portion. Storage space in here is really solid, and that's all for the back. Now let's go over the rest of the rear of the RX 450h. So first off, you can see we've got these full LED lights here in the back, which I think look really good. And then you got the regular badge, and then you've got another hybrid badge to let you know that this is a hybrid. And then the Lexus logo kind of has that blue hue to let you know that this is also a hybrid. Parking sensors at the bottom, and then you guys probably can't see it very well on the camera, but there is a receiver hitch just right down there below. So yes, you can tow with this, and that's all for the back of the 450h. Now going over the door panel here in the rear, first off we got a little sunshade right here, which is really nice. And then you got this nice wood trim just down below. And then you got the leather here, which is really soft to the touch with the stitching all throughout. A couple speakers for the sound system. And then here are the seats in the back. So you got stitching all throughout with the perforations. You've got the soft touch here on these sides. But per usual, let's actually pop in. So stepping in, it's really easy to get in. Now if I sit all the way up, I'm 5'11", and I almost touched the top, but not quite. And then we've got pretty decent legroom. And then you've got a couple of vents right here. You've got some heated seats, and then we've got some USBs down below that. And then pulling this out, well, you can see that it's kind of like a center console, and then you press this and you got some cup holders. Nothing groundbreaking, but the coolest part is you guys can see the seat. Whoop! You guys are wondering, why is the camera going down? Well, you can also fold down the seat with a little button here on the side. So yeah, I don't know. I was trying to be funny about it, but like it didn't really work. But let's continue on. Here's the door panel at the front. So you've got the wood trim right there with all the leather all around. And then you got all of your window controls here with your door lock and unlock. You got the mirror adjustments with the power folding mirror function. And then coming to the seats here at the front, we've got the soft leather all throughout with the cool stitching design, the perforations, the soft touch there on the sides of the seats. And then you've got the power adjustments there on that side. Little Lexus plaque. And then we got the pedal layout with the hood latch release, and then up above we got some controls. So you've got the little light control right here. You've got this for the tailgate, or sorry, the rear hatch. Either way, you've got the heads-up display, the gas cap release, this for the camera system, your heated steering wheel. Steering wheel is automatically adjustable, and there's one more look before we pop in. Here's the steering wheel in the 450h. You've got the wood trim there at the top, and then at the bottom, and then the soft leather here on the sides. And then zooming in, you've got your controls for the center stack. You got your pages button, and then this is the collision assistance, and then your lane departure assistance. The cruise control is on that little stalk right there, and then you got a little paddle shifter, and then you do have the little windshield wiper stalk. On the other side, you got your voice command, phone controls, volume controls, all that kind of stuff. Another paddle shifter, and then you have the light/turn signal stalk. But that's the steering wheel in the RX 450h. Now here's the center stack with the gauges. You can see that you've got an analog setup for the speed, and then instead of having RPM, since this is a hybrid, it lets you know if you're in the charge, eco, or if you're in the power in terms of what you're doing with the vehicle. And then you do have that little center screen, which will just give you different bits of information on the RX. Nothing too crazy here. It's just like any of the other Lexuses or any of the other RXs. You do have some drive modes. You do have the eco mode, and it'll pop up to eco. You can push in for the normal mode, and then you do have a sport mode as well. And then notice that when you go in the sport mode, it actually changes the screen setup. So you can see you've got the eco and then the normal, and then boom, it actually shows the RPMs when you're in sport mode. So I think it's pretty cool that Lexus integrated that. And then there is a full EV mode, but notice that I don't have enough charge, so then it's going to say EV mode unavailable. Even though we're in EV mode right now, it's a little bit confusing, but trust me, there is a method to the madness. Here's the center infotainment system. First off, we're going to pop it into reverse. So we've got the backup camera with the trajectory lines. They do turn with the steering wheel, and then you do get that bird's eye view with this as well. And then you can see you can change the camera view if you want. As for the rest of the infotainment system, you probably already noticed that it doubles as a touchscreen, but then there's also a keypad as well with the infotainment system. So you can just press little buttons on it and functions all the same, or you can use the keypad for shortcuts. I think that use of both really helps. So like using the shortcut buttons is better than using the infotainment system. But then when you're like on this screen, it's easiest just to touch the screen. So basically like the best use of this is using both the keypad and the screen as a touchscreen. But if you prefer one or the other, then you can just use either or, and it's cool they give you that choice in the first place. Now in this little area, you've got a little Lexus clock, we've got some radio controls, and then you do have the controls for the climate system, which is all pretty neat. And then we've got little 12 volt and some USBs, and then we've got the controls here. Now these are automatic seats, which is pretty neat. So you've got automatic climate controls, but you have automatic seats. So like if it's cold, it'll turn on the heated seats. If it's warm, then it'll turn on the cooled seats automatically. You've got your parking brake and then your auto hold up there as well. And then you've got this kind of like random little storage thing that you could hold your phone in. It's like it goes down super deep. Hopefully you guys can see, but I don't know, I think it's pretty neat. And then we've got the shifter for the CVT automatic, which you can shift the gears yourself if you want with the manual shift function. Pretty straightforward, normal shifter, nothing crazy happening with that. Now I've got a bunch more stuff in this area, a couple of cup holders, and then we've got the little keypad for the infotainment system, and then you do have a little wrist rest. Again, say that 20 times. We've got the drive mode select here, so you've got your eco, your normal, and then your sport, and then you got your EV mode, and then you've got your stability control, turn it on and off, and then you've got the black trim with the lines that goes all throughout. And then more of the beautiful leather. Opening this up, notice that it just sticks. You can go all the way, or you can just have it stick there, which is kind of interesting. Got a little 12 volt and some USBs inside of that, and then notice how they continued like the line of the stitching, which I think is pretty neat. And then coming over here, more soft touch on the dash, and then the glove box lined with felt. Pretty normal glove box, nothing crazy happening, so yeah. Now at the very top here, we do get a full panoramic sunroof in this RX 450h, and then you got the controls for the sunroof on either side. You got your light controls up here, sunglass holder, and then it is a softer touch headliner, which definitely makes this feel a whole lot more premium. Now that we're done going in the interior on this RX 450h, let's quickly get into the pricing. So in terms of pricing, this RX 450h stickers for about $64,000 before any type of market adjustment. That being said, let's take this 450h out and see how it drives. Talk about visibility here in the RX 450h before we set off. So visibility over the hood is pretty decent, and again, hopefully you guys can see the heads-up display. I'll kind of like duck down really low so it hopefully pops up on the camera. But that HUD button, that's what turns it on or off, but it does have a heads-up display. And then you've got your visibility through both the mirrors. They do have blind spot monitoring. And then here's throughout the rest of the rear, which I just drove an RX 350L before this, and I can notice a visibility difference in the rear. This definitely has a smaller window back there, whereas that one is a little bit longer, but then it also has a bigger window. So they're almost equal in rear visibility, which is interesting. And that all being said, let's set off. We are initially setting off here in the RX 450h, and first off, let's talk about the road noise and the ride quality. So first off, from a ride quality perspective, I just drove an RX 350L before this, and I can actually perceive a slight difference between the two. The 350L actually felt like it rode just slightly smoother than this 450h, which, I don't know, I think that's crazy that I can actually tell a difference between the two, but that's why I try to drive these vehicles back to back, so I can let you guys know the differences. And then we'll see turning here. Turn and everything feels about the same between the two. So on that playing field, they're pretty much identical. But yeah, so far, ride quality, it's a little bit rougher compared to the 350L, but it's still really smooth for an SUV, definitely more on the luxury side of things. You don't really hear a whole lot coming to the cabin. And going over these little manhole covers, yeah, you can see it just doesn't upset the vehicle whatsoever. And so if you're looking for like luxury, Lexus just does such a good job at that. So we're going to be getting our acceleration here in just a moment. I want to go over these train tracks again to see kind of how it does over them. Yeah, it's really smooth over the tracks, but let's pop it into first and get our acceleration. This does not like the manual mode. I can tell you that right now. It does not like the manual shift function. Like, I'm pressing the paddle and it just does it whenever it feels like it. Let's kind of see how it, I'll slow down here a little bit and let's see how it does in the automatic. And by the way, we are in the sport mode if you were wondering. So we're gonna slow down just a little bit. Okay, now we'll go. Yeah, it likes the automatic mode a lot better. It does take a second to get into the power band compared to when you're in the manual shift mode, but it just is a lot better with the shifting. So that's kind of my recommendation, is I just keep this in automatic. And I feel like most people that are driving this are probably just going to have an automatic. It's so funny to see the difference when you change it from because the dial is just an analog dial, so when you shift it from the sport mode, it like the dial shifts a ton. It's kind of fun to play with that. But anyways, let's get into finishing or summing things up here with the RX 450h. So from an exterior aesthetics perspective, just like all the other RXs, I feel like it's a really nice proportionate vehicle. Compared to the 350L, I don't know, I feel like they're both good looking. I feel like one of them is not better looking than the other. It's not as like big of a difference as like when you look at a Tahoe versus a Suburban, and the length really changes the aesthetic. They're both pretty good looking and they both look pretty similar. And then from the interior perspective, yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. The only complaint that I had, and I said this in my RX 350L video as well, is they have really nice leather on everything except the very top portions of the dash. They use like a different material, and I think it's kind of interesting that they decided to do that, which, yeah, just a little bit different. From the driving perspective, I feel like it's really solid. Now, it would be really tough for me to choose between this and the regular RX. So both of them have completely different transmissions. Same engine though, just, you know, hybrid versus non-hybrid. This gets better fuel economy, whereas the RX 350L has, you know, a regular transmission, so it's a little bit better with the gear shifts versus the CVT. So it'd be a tough choice for me to choose. But I think this is a great larger sized SUV. The hybrid does really good from a fuel economy standpoint for how large this SUV is. And so if that's kind of what you're looking for, like a larger sized SUV, but you still want to get good fuel economy, and then you want a luxury car too, then that's where this is. It's definitely more of a niche vehicle, but I know there's people out there looking for something like this. Now, that is going to sum things up with our video on this 2021 Lexus RX 450h. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Lexus here in Murray for giving me some time with this RX 450. Check out the inventory link below. I'll see all of you in the next video.